picture this for a second. You're in a dimly lit parking lot after a show.
Okay, setting the scene. I like it.
Yeah, so a guy walks up to your car window, he looks you in the eye, and he hands you a burned CD.
Oh man, taking it way back.
Right. You roll down the glass, and you hand him, like, a crumpled $5 bill. It's gritty, it's direct, and there's absolutely zero corporate middleman involved.
Yeah, it's just a raw exchange between the creator and the listener.
Exactly. And today, a group of bleeding-edge technologists are actually trying to digitally recreate that exact hyperlocal parking lot transaction.
But they want to scale it globally using the blockchain.
You got it. Welcome to today's deep dive. We have got a really fascinating collision of the physical and digital worlds to explore with you.
It really is an unexpected approach, especially for a technology that usually, prides itself on being completely detached from the physical world.
That is the perfect way to frame it.
Yeah.
So for today's deep dive, we are pulling from a single, highly focused source. It's an excerpt from a YouTube video transcript. It's from a channel called Diversified Capital Aristocrats.
Interesting name.
Yeah, and the video breaks down an upcoming live event called the NFT Music Showcase 2026. So our mission today is to figure out how the organizers of this event are actively trying to fuse grassroots artistry with decentralized tech.
To fundamentally revolutionize how artists reach you, the audience.
Yes, exactly. And there's a specific phrase the source uses to describe this whole movement that actually made me stop and rewind the audio.
Oh, yeah. What was it?
They call it the new age version of selling CDs out your trunk.
What's fascinating here is the apparent paradox of how they are executing that vision.
Totally.
Because when you hear NFT or blockchain, the immediate association is usually the metaverse, right?
Right. You picture borderless, entirely digital ecosystems, like people interacting as anonymous avatars across the globe.
Exactly. But the logistics of this specific showcase aggressively reject that purely digital premise.
Yeah, they really do. Let's look at the actual facts of the event to see what you mean.
Let's do it.
So this showcase is taking place during a larger 4-day 420 event, and that runs from April 17th through the 20th.
Okay.
The NFT Music Showcase itself falls specifically on April 18th. And here is the rule that immediately made me pause and question the organizers' logic.
The physical rule.
Yes. The source explicitly states that performers absolutely cannot dial in remotely.
No Zooms allowed.
None. They give the example of someone wanting to perform from Houston, and the answer is a hard no.
Wow.
You have to physically pull up, you have to be standing inside the building to perform and to vote.
Which completely upends the conventional wisdom of Web3.
Right. So I have to push back on this a little bit.
Sure.
If we are talking about an NFT showcase, a technology that is literally built on decentralized, borderless ledgers meant to connect anyone with an internet connection, why in the world are the organizers demanding strict, physical, in-the-room attendance?
It does seem backward at first glance.
Doesn't that just exclude thousands of talented artists who maybe, can't afford a plane ticket to this specific 420 event? It feels like a massive contradiction to the inclusive ethos of the blockchain.
I get that. It sounds like a contradiction, but it actually functions as a necessary grounding mechanism.
How so?
Well, the organizers are acknowledging a major flaw in purely digital ecosystems. They can be sterile, they can be easily manipulated, and they often lack real stakes.
Okay, that's fair. Bots and fake engagement are a huge problem.
Exactly. So by taking this highly abstract technology and forcing it to have a physical heartbeat, they are trying to build a real-world community first.
So the physical requirement ensures that the art has a tangible impact before it gets digitized.
Yes. A visceral impact on actual human beings in a shared space before a single piece of code is even written.
I hear that, but you are still artificially limiting your talent pool to whoever happens to be in the zip code.
True.
If the greatest underground artist happens to be stuck in Houston that weekend, the showcase just misses out entirely.
But from the organizer's perspective, if you aren't in the room, you aren't part of the immediate community they are trying to digitize.
Oh, I see.
Because if you just allow people to upload a slick, highly edited video from their bedroom, you lose the friction.
You lose the raw energy of a live performance.
Right. By forcing artists to pull up, they are making a philosophical statement. The foundation of digital value has to be physical resonance.
So you have to step onto a stage, breathe the same air as the audience, and actually prove you can move a room.
Exactly. Only after you survive that crucible does the transition to a decentralized digital asset make sense.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because if you are demanding that level of raw, real-world energy from the stage, it completely changes the dynamic of who's actually grabbing the microphone.
It absolutely does.
This brings us to what I think is, honestly, the most surprising pivot in the source material.
The lineup criteria.
Yes. The transcript heavily emphasizes that this showcase is not just for music artists.
Right.
It is explicitly open to spoken word artists and comedians as well.
And that completely shatters the operational model of traditional talent showcases.
It is a massive departure. I mean, think about how the traditional industry operates.
Very siloed.
Very. Everything is segregated into neat little boxes for marketing purposes. If you are a listener looking for a laugh, you go to a comedy club.
Right. And if you want a beat, you go to a rap showcase.
Exactly. But these creators are looking at a punchline, a poem, and a hook, and viewing all of them as equally valid forms of expression.
All worthy of being minted on the blockchain.
Yeah. It is almost like a decentralized, high-stakes vaudeville act.
That's a great way to put it. The organizers are basically recognizing a huge failure in the traditional gatekeeping system.
How so?
Well, the transcript notes there is a lot of good talent out there that simply isn't, quote, getting showcased properly.
Glad that makes sense.
A traditional A&R rep or a talent scout usually doesn't know how to evaluate a comedian alongside a musician.
Because they're just looking for a specific product they can slot into a pre-existing corporate pipeline.
Exactly. By tearing down those genre walls, this event democratizes the definition of what constitutes a valuable digital asset.
Wow.
The goal isn't to find an artist who fits a specific Spotify playlist. The goal is to find an artist who can just capture human attention.
But wait, if you're in the audience, how do you even evaluate that? The metrics for success are wildly different.
Oh, they definitely are.
A comedian lives and dies by laughs per minute. A spoken word poet needs absolute silence and maybe some snaps.
Right?
And an R&B singer needs to find a groove and get people moving. You cannot put those three performances on a traditional scorecard and rank them 1 to 10.
Which is precisely why a traditional panel of industry judges would fail miserably in this environment.
They wouldn't know what to do.
Right. So the venue has to solve that judging nightmare by entirely removing the concept of experts from the equation.
And that is exactly what the source says happens next. The winner of this showcase isn't chosen by 3 executives sitting at a table with clipboards. It is decided through a live voting process that takes place in real time, right there in the building, on April 18th.
Which is huge.
And just to set the stage for who is doing the voting, the source mentions that to even participate, artists and attendees have to proactively go to annual420experience.com and follow specific instructions to apply.
It's not just a walk-in crowd.
No. So every single person in that room has shown serious intent just to be there.
This raises an important question about how value is authenticated.
What do you mean?
Well, in the old model, a handful of executives behind closed doors guess what the broader market might want to consume.
They try to predict the hits.
Right. But here, the end consumer is making the decision in real time.
But if I'm playing devil's advocate here, how do we know the crowd isn't just voting for whoever brought the most friends?
That's a common critique of local shows.
Right. What makes a room full of attendees better equipped to pick a star than a scout who has spent 20 years studying market trends?
Because the scout is trying to predict a market, whereas the crowd actually is the market.
Oh, that's a good point.
And functionally, this live voting process is the physical precursor to the digital prize they are competing for.
I see where you're going with this.
Think about how a blockchain works. It is essentially just a decentralized ledger, like a public record book.
Right.
Transactions are validated not by a central bank, but by a consensus of the network's participants.
Wow. Okay, so what this physical showcase is doing is creating a human consensus network.
Exactly.
So you're saying the crowd cheering and casting their live votes is the real-world equivalent of computers authenticating a block on the chain.
Exactly that. The technology requires consensus to operate, and the organizers are mirroring that dynamically in the physical room.
They are basically ensuring that the local community has already authenticated the art.
Yes. They've agreed that it holds value before it is ever permanently recorded on the digital ledger.
Man, if you can't get the room to form a consensus around you, you simply don't get the digital keys to the kingdom.
Nope. You go home.
So let's talk about those keys. If you're an artist listening to this right now, and you manage to step on that stage, captivate the room, and win the live vote.
What's the payoff?
Exactly. What exactly do you walk away with? The source lays out a very specific, multi-tiered grand prize.
The structure of this prize is really the blueprint for the entire decentralized philosophy the organizers are pushing.
So according to the text, the winner gets their music or art published as an NFT.
Okay.
They also get their work distributed through an independent, decentralized media distribution network.
Huge.
And finally, they receive a signing offer from an NFT label.
Right.
Now, here's where it gets really interesting, because I have to call out the terminology here.
The word label.
Yes.
Yeah.
As soon as I hear the phrase record label or signing offer, all sorts of red flags go up for me.
Same for a lot of artists.
There is decades of historical baggage attached to those words.
And for good reason. The traditional record deal is notoriously predatory.
It historically means handing over the ownership of your master recording.
Yeah.
It means getting locked into a massive recoupment deal where the label essentially loans you money to record an album.
And then you don't see a dime of royalties until that loan is paid back.
At a horrible interest rate.
Mm-hmm.
You basically become an indebted employee of a corporate machine.
Right.
So if the entire premise of this April 18th showcase is grassroots independence and bypassing the corporate suits, why in the world are they using the term NFT label? Isn't the label still just a middleman?
It is a critical distinction, and we really need to look under the hood of how this technology actually functions.
Okay, let's do it.
Let's break down the mechanics of this prize package. When the source talks about an NFT label and decentralized media distribution, they are offering an infrastructure alternative, not a new boss.
An infrastructure alternative. What does that mean in practice?
Well, a traditional label leverages its massive centralized machinery. We're talking radio contacts, playlist curators, physical manufacturing.
Right, the whole machine.
And in exchange for access to that machine, they demand ownership of your intellectual property.
So you get access to their megaphone, but they own your voice.
Beautifully said. But an NFT label operates entirely differently because of something called smart contracts.
Okay, stop right there.
Yeah.
Explain a smart contract to me like I'm 5 years old. Because that term gets thrown around a lot as corporate jargon, and we need to know how it actually protects the artist in this scenario.
Okay, fair enough. Think of a smart contract like a digital vending machine.
A vending machine.
Yeah. With a traditional label, when a fan buys your song, that money goes to the label's accounting department.
Right.
They hold it, they take their massive cut, they calculate your tiny percentage, and maybe they cut you a check 6 months later.
It is a really slow, opaque process controlled by humans.
Exactly. A smart contract removes the humans. It is just a piece of code living on the blockchain.
Okay.
So when a fan buys your NFT, the smart contract acts like that vending machine. It automatically and instantly splits the money.
Wait,
Instantly. 80% goes directly to your digital wallet, maybe 20% goes to the NFT label for providing the distribution rails, and it happens in seconds.
that is a massive paradigm shift. You don't have to audit a vending machine. The code just executes the split perfectly every time.
Exactly.
But what about the art itself? If a comedian wins this showcase and their 5-minute set is published as an NFT, what is stopping someone on the internet from just screen recording the video and watching it for free?
The classic right-click save argument.
Right. How does the label protect the value of a digital file?
This is where we have to separate the media from the ownership receipt.
Okay.
Yes, someone can screen record the video, just like someone can buy a $5 poster of the Mona Lisa in the Louvre gift shop.
Right. I have one in my dorm room.
Right. But hanging that poster in your bedroom doesn't mean you own the actual Mona Lisa.
Ah, okay.
The NFT is the unforgeable digital receipt of ownership on the public ledger.
So by publishing the art as an NFT, the ownership is immutably recorded.
Exactly. The decentralized distribution network provides the digital rails to get the art out to the world and track every single transaction transparently.
But the artist holds the actual keys to the asset.
Precisely.
So the NFT label functions more like a high-tech facilitator.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it.
They give you the plumbing and the vending machines to reach your audience globally, but they don't demand the deed to your house in return.
It leaves the steering wheel firmly in the artist's hands.
And when you strip away all of these dense technical terms like ledgers, smart contracts, decentralized nodes, what you are left with is actually a very old school, almost primal philosophy.
It really is.
Which brings us to the core thesis of the source material.
The return to the direct-to-consumer model.
Yes, the transcript plainly states that the ultimate goal of bringing all this complex tech to music and media is bringing back the days of doing numbers, selling CDs out your trunk.
There's that phrase again.
Right. They explicitly call this The new age version of doing exactly that. And I think that metaphor is just brilliant because it grounds all of this abstract Web3 theory into something you can actually feel and smell.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it reveals something profound about the intersection of human nature and modern technology.
What do you mean by that?
Well, we often talk about the blockchain as if it is this cold, futuristic, mathematical dystopia.
Yeah, it sounds very sci-fi.
But the core desire driving the adoption of this technology is incredibly traditional. It is simply a creator wanting an unmediated relationship with their community.
Let's look at the mechanics of the trunk hustle.
Let's do it.
You pop the trunk of your car in a venue parking lot. A fan who just saw you perform walks up. There is a brief conversation, a physical exchange of cash, and you hand them a piece of plastic with your soul recorded on it.
Yeah.
There is no distributor taking 15%. There is no streaming algorithm paying you a fraction of a penny per play, or burying your song if it doesn't have a hook in the first 3 seconds.
Exactly. It is a direct exchange of value.
And fundamentally, minting an NFT directly to a fan's digital wallet is the exact same transaction.
You are just replacing the physical CD with a smart contract.
And the local parking lot with the entire internet.
The technology is merely the vehicle. The destination has always been autonomy.
Economy, yes.
For decades, artists had to surrender control to massive centralized entities because the physical logistics of global distribution were simply too expensive for one person.
You needed the corporate machine to press the vinyl, ship the jewel cases, bribe the radio stations.
Right. The internet eventually solved the distribution problem, but it introduced a new problem.
Massive centralized platforms.
Like Spotify and YouTube, that dictated all the financial terms.
So you traded the physical gatekeepers for algorithmic gatekeepers.
Precisely. And now the blockchain is attempting to solve the ownership and monetization problem.
It's the next evolution.
Yeah. The trunk analogy works beautifully because it reminds us that the endgame isn't to create a confusing new digital bureaucracy. The goal is to return to the simplest, most honest transaction in human history. Here is something I made. Do you find it valuable?
And if the listener says yes, the transaction happens instantly and directly.
The NFT is just a digital trunk that the whole world can look inside?
The digital trunk that never closes. Man, that really clarifies the stakes of what we have been analyzing today.
It's a big shift.
It really is. So let's take a breath and retrace the journey we've just taken through this source material.
Let's recap.
We started by looking at a physical stage at a 420 event on April 18th.
Right?
We saw how an ironclad rule, the absolute demand that artists pull up and perform in person, forces a highly abstract digital technology to prove its worth by building a real-world community first.
And we examined how opening that stage to comedians and spoken word poets rather than just musicians shatters the traditional marketing boxes.
Yes.
It democratizes what we actually consider a valuable digital asset.
Right, the decentralized vaudeville. And we broke down how putting the voting power directly into the hands of a live audience creates a human consensus network.
Stripping power away from the traditional A&R scouts who try to guess what we want to hear.
Which ultimately leads to that multi-tiered grand prize, a decentralized distribution deal that uses smart contracts to revive the rugged, independent spirit of selling CDs out of a trunk.
Full circle.
Full circle. For you listening right now, whether you are a creator trying to break out of the algorithm, a technologist watching the blockchain evolve past the hype, or just a fan of grassroots culture, this shift matters.
It absolutely does.
We're watching the architecture of how we consume and support talent change from passive centralized consumption back toward active direct participation.
And that profound shift leaves us with a fascinating, slightly unsettling thread to pull on.
Oh, what's that?
Well, we have spent this deep dive celebrating the power of the direct-to-consumer model, right? This triumphant return to the trunk. But consider the broader cultural implications of this working on a massive scale.
Okay, I listen.
If every talented artist successfully adopts this new age trunk model, if they all manage to bypass the mainstream corporate machine entirely and cultivate their own insulated, decentralized communities through NFTs and smart contracts,
Right.
what happens to our shared cultural experiences?
Oh, wow.
Will we eventually lose the...
We will. Either way, it is clear that the invisible, sterile algorithmic library in the sky is finally facing some serious competition from the parking lot hustle. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Keep questioning the systems around you, keep looking for the deeper mechanisms behind the information you consume, and we will catch you next time.